Good morning! I'm Amy and this is A-Star Reads, and it's time to find out if book love is blind. Well, we won't find out completely today, but we're gonna work our way towards finding out the results of the Book Love is Blind series that I started last year and did not get a chance to finish. I'm here to finally pick up my next major honeymoon, or whatever you call it, with Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is one of the books that I believed would be my top. In this series, I was given 10 choices. I was not allowed to know what the book was, and I had 10% of that book to read that Shell had typed out separately, so I wouldn't be able to see the book. I wouldn't know what it was. There was no indication, unless, of course, the title was within that first 10% of the book, within the actual content of the book, which did happen a couple of times. And then there were definitely times when I was able to guess, based on the first 10%, what the book was. But for the most part, I went into this blind, not knowing what books Shell picked, believing they would be my absolute book loves, like the book I would love above all. And so I picked 3 books. The first was The Diviners, and I will link that vlog up here where I did read The Diviners to determine whether or not that could be my absolute favorite book love of all time within this series. And then, of course, I had Project Hail Mary, which is the second book. This is the second book that I plan on giving a go and seeing if this is going to be my absolute love. And then I also have my third book, which is Dragon Wick by Anya Seton, and this one I'm hoping to read in the next couple of weeks. So I can get this series through and we can actually determine whether or not book love is blind. Will one of these books be my favorite? And then Shell's already planned another season of this to test my love again. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this weekend. The reason I decided to do Project Hail Mary for this weekend is because for Spring Into Reading-a-thon and for Tales from Two Trails, part of my prompts for those are, one, for Spring Into Reading-a-thon, to have a self-care day. And of course, within self-care, I often tend to include reading. And then for Tales from Two Trails, one of the prompts, one of the challenges is to have a cozy reading night, which we're planning on doing tonight. And so I figured, why not just extend this self-care day into a self-care weekend and this cozy reading night into a cozy reading weekend? I mean, I'll definitely focus a lot on it this evening so I can cross off that challenge. But I'm going to make this weekend a vlog weekend where I spend time with what could possibly be the love of my bookish life. And I'm really excited. So as far as self-care goes, because I'm really gonna focus in on this weekend, I've already taken well, I'm working on it, taking my vitamins this morning. I've taken most of them. It's just, haven't taken all of them. And I've got some pastries to go with my coffee this morning, because one of the things I absolutely love is pastries and coffee. And we're gonna go get a massage at 11 today. My mom, Jordan, and I were all like, we really need massages. And I'm like, well, it's a self-care day for me, so might as well go get a massage. So I'm really, really excited about that. We haven't got massages in a very long time, and it's gonna be lovely. So that's one of the first things we're gonna do for our self-care day. I do have to work on my Sunday sum up. It's not gonna be a long video, so it won't take too long, but in a sense, that's self-care. It's work, but it's something that I want to make sure I get done for tomorrow, and I want to feel accomplished that I've gotten it done. So in a sense, it's self-care, like peace of mind, right? And hopefully that won't take up too much of today, because we have a lot of other fun things planned, and I can't wait to share that with you, of course, as the day goes on. But for now, while I'm drinking my coffee and having my pastry, I'm going to start editing this Sunday sum up. So we'll see how that goes. I did read The Martian by Andy Weir, and I didn't give it 5 stars. I really did enjoy that a lot. I think I liked, did I like the movie better? I don't remember. I did love the book, but it wasn't a 5-star for me. And I've heard that this one is even more likely to be a 5-star. And what was interesting about the first 10% of this was that I figured it out pretty quickly because of Andy Weir's sense of humor. Like, you can tell that this has come from the same author. And I do enjoy that. Like, I don't think that's tedious at all when you have an author that has a specific voice, because as long as they're able to change up the characters, as long as they're able to change up the setting and all that stuff, then it may be the same voice from the author, but it has a different feel. The story has a different feel. So I'm very excited, especially, like I said, based on the first 10%. It was one of the ones I picked out of the 10 that would be my favorite. So let's find out. right, how do we feel?
What?
Yes.
Yes. We asked for no deep tissue.
Well, we asked for medium because you
Medium
could either do
tissue.
medium, regular, or deep tissue.
And it was so deep, I kept thinking, is this medium?
I know.
What would deep
Let's
tissue
come
feel
back
like?
and try deep tissue.
Oh no,
I
I'm
know,
so
I
scared.
can't do that until I heal.
It was
I can
so,
barely move.
it was already so deep. I'm like, what do they do? Do
Oh,
they just start flailing
They
you?
get on us
So
and jump
good.
up and down.
Oh, it was so good. And then I didn't realize they were going to get on the side of the table.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
they
I
just- they
just
get
spreading out. And then she's like moving in. And I was like, oh,
Let me squeeze in.
think thin thoughts. Let her get up here.
It was
Oh,
so
it was
good.
so amazing.
It was. Pink tag is 50% off, and I got some of these for my future classroom. These are the cool ones. We have gone a little crazy on our cozy reading night snacks. Never. What do you got, Mom? Snacks. Oh, she didn't get snacks.
Well, those
I'm carrying them. Oh, and those.
Bourbon.
Oh, yeah, those are the white chocolate
I got
things.
bourbon.
Come here. Come here, Ayada.
Yeah. Okay, so we had a little too much fun. Love is Blind watch party. Wave. Ready. All right, so we're getting ready to do our cozy reading night. It's still a little bright out, so we're like waiting for the sun to go down to put the candles and stuff on. But I'm getting ready to start Project Hail Mary. Woo! What are you drinking? Nope. What are you reading?
The Extraordinaries by
Oh, I'm
TJ
jealous. Actually, I'm not because I'm reading this. But I am a little jealous because I do want to read that one. That's one of my other Love is Blind books that I did.
did read
Yeah,
that,
I did read the first 10% of that one. What are you reading, Ma? Ma? Tarot cards.
Oh.
Yep.
This is actually such a good book, and I've had such good readings with this book. But I want to read, it has a lot of useful stuff in it.
We already ate almost all our snacks during our Love is Blind reunion watch
We
show.
have that raspberry stuff that
We do have some
she
other
can help
stuff.
us eat, 'cause, man,
We're
that
already
makes me
feeling sick
sick.
to our stomachs, though. Our stomachs. I can tell what everybody else's stomachs feel.
I already took 3 Tums.
Good morning. It is Sunday morning and it's about 9:45. I've been up for a little while doing a little bit of reading because last night I did not get much reading done. We were so distracted. We're having so much fun. I did read last night during the cozy reading night, but I was trying to get a video edited and we were doing our face masks and we were just giggling and laughing and having fun. So I got reading done, but then I went to bed and I fell asleep right away. So this morning I read a little bit more and I have made it past the 10%, the first 10% that I read when I first read this for the book Love is Blind, like the 10% that I had to read for each of the book. Not that far yet, but still I've made it a little further and I'm currently on page 54. I'm going to be doing a lot more reading of this today because I don't have a Sunday sum up that I have to get done and up, and we don't have as much we need to do today. So that's really exciting. So Mom's making coffee. We're going to have a cozy reading morning. Today is a gorgeous, gorgeous day outside. So we might go to the beach or something like that because we got to enjoy it a little bit. It's just too pretty of a day to let go completely. As far as self-care goes, of course, going to the beach would be a wonderful way to just enjoy the weather, enjoy outdoors. And I also need to do laundry, which wouldn't necessarily seem like the most fun self-care, but realistically, it'll make me feel better if I actually do and put away, because like doing laundry is one thing, but putting away the laundry is a whole nother thing, something that I'm not good at doing. So I need to do that, and it'll help me feel a little better about what's going on with my clothes situation. I don't know if we have any other plans for today, if I have any other self-care plans for today. We'll see. At the moment, I just really want to get into this. I want to get some reading done, and I want to enjoy the day, because it is a really beautiful day. Oh wait, I do have to do my genre stack for Tales from Two Trails. So that's one thing that I'm going to do a random number generator for, to see. Actually, you know, I may just spin the spinner wheel on my game, my TBR game, because it has all the genres that I actually own on there. The only thing I'm worried about is if I land on YA fantasy or YA other, I don't want to have to pull all those books separately. Maybe, I don't know. I might just respin if I land on those two things, because I have whole sections, like all my YA anything is mixed in with my adult stuff. Middle grade is the only type of book that I have separate, like for age range. So if I land on YA fantasy or YA other, I might just respin, because that doesn't sound like a self-care activity. That sounds like mean. Okay, so let's find out what genre of books I'm going to stack. 2 is orange. Orange is... oh no. Adult fantasy, which I'm just going to call fantasy. That means all these books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves worth. I should also say that I'm only counting the fantasy that is on my to be read shelf, because I do have fantasy over here on my red shelf, but nothing is in order over here. I have not worked on this. And of course, I also have books that I've read in boxes out in the garage. So I'm not going to count that. I'm just going to count all the books that are on this to be read shelf. Okay, so here's where my concern lies. This is part of my stack I've already started. That was only from like the bottom and a few of the other shelves. So I started that. But this is all of the books I have to add to it. Including that stack right there. So yeah, a little nervous. Let's see what happens. Okay, it turns out I couldn't even get half my books in the stack before it toppled over. So it is definitely hard doing a stack that is really tall. I'm sure people have done it. I don't know, because once you get a certain level stacked up, they start leaning. And part of me wonders that if I didn't have the jackets on them, like the jackets, I think that makes them a little more slick. So they don't have as much friction, or you know, like they don't hold on quite as tightly as if they were just their regular covers, the cloth covers. I don't know that I'm gonna fool around with that though. Just don't think I want to take all the covers off my books and see how well that'll work. I mean, if the goal is to get all my books on a stack, then maybe I need to do a genre that I know for sure is a smaller stack. This is not easy. It's not easy. Okay, well, I will see what I can do about that. But for now, I tried the fantasy, but fantasy is not the way to go, obviously. So randomizing was not the way to go. So maybe now I can think about the most creative way to stack. Like, not just a specific genre, but like a specific subgenre or something like that. Maybe I can get creative. The good thing about this, though, is that now I can rearrange my shelves. I've been wanting to rearrange my fantasy shelves for a little while now, and I've been putting it off because it's daunting. So I'm gonna do some rearranging. Okay, I've reorganized this based on book size. And I have a couple of holes, especially down here, because I have books that need to go on here that I haven't recorded in my little system that I have yet. So that was a lot of work, but I got my fantasy section reorganized. Woo! Woohoo! Okay, so I pulled a random book genre generator, and it had a lot of really obscure, or at least very specific types of genres, which I thought was really good because that might help me narrow it down a bit. And when I clicked randomize, I got coming of age stories, and I love coming of age stories, so that works out perfectly. So then I went to Goodreads and I found a list of coming of age books, and I'm going through the list to see which ones I want to read versus which ones I actually own. And I am also pulling up another Goodreads tab so that I can actually double check to see if some of the ones I want to read, like just double check, because there may be some that I want to read that I do own that I forgot about. So I'm double checking, and I'm going to start pulling books for that, and I will create a stack of coming of age books. Okay, I could argue that coming of age is not a narrow enough genre choice because this is what I've already got, and I've barely gone through the list of coming of age books that I own. I'm currently on page 5 of many, and I just keep finding more and more, and I know of more and more that I own, so I'm like, It's like, where do I cut it off? That's my question, because I keep going through these lists, and I keep finding more and more and more to add, and my stack's gonna get overwhelming again. I want something more specific. Although I did like this coming of age option. It's just really fun to go through the books that I own and see which ones are considered coming of age. But I might spin again and try to get something a little more, because like coming of age crosses so many different genres, and I love coming of age stories. So I have so many of these. And a lot of books include coming of age stories. Just like as I'm wandering around picking up the books that I'm finding on the list, I'm looking at other ones. I'm like, oh, that's a coming of age. Oh, that's a coming of age. So I know that I'm going to be picking up a lot more. Okay, so I decided to do it again. I know it's kind of cheating, but I just wanted this to be realistic, and I want an actual book stack. So then the first thing that came up when I randomized my random generator thingy, sorry, brain's like thinking too much right now, I got zombie humor. And the only thing I don't own, my mom owns, is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. So that's one book.
Oh, and the other one.
And one
Zombies,
other one.
no.
Zombies. And then the next thing that came up was Sword and Sorcery, which I didn't know this is a genre. I was like, what is Sword and Sorcery? But it's a genre. So let's see if I have any of these. So Sword and Sorcery. I do have Game of Thrones. Let me grab that. Okay. Nice. There's so few that I own. Like none. Or that I want to read either. I don't think I own Name of the Wind. Okay, I'm going to go through this and I'll let you know if I actually found anything other than the Game of Thrones. Hello, it's Editing Amy, and somewhere along the way I lost a video clip. So basically I looked, there wasn't really anything else aside from Game of Thrones. I think maybe King Arthur, a couple of things like that. But I decided that this wasn't a good choice. So I went on and I rolled again, and I got Urban Legend and searched for that. Urban Legend didn't work. I definitely looked through that list and don't have a lot of those. But Black Comedy, I think I can make that one work. Let's see what I can pull up. Okay, so I put together my Black Comedy stack. Black Comedy, meaning this genre, describes books that take tragic or taboo or troubling or different uncomfortable subject matter, and like really uncomfortable subject matter, dark subject matter, and make it humorous, make it comedic. So I used the Goodreads list, and there was only one book that I had to add on here that wasn't on the list that I felt like should be on the list because it was a Kurt Vonnegut book. So yeah, definitely should be on the list. And then the rest of them, I don't know how much humor some of these have in them. I haven't read them yet, although I have read some of them. So I can definitely agree that some of these that I have read have a lot of humor in it, and they are talking about a subject matter that is dark. Oftentimes it's like murder or death. Like with Finley Donovan is Killing It, that's murder. With The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, that's death. So I'm just going to quickly show you my stack for one. Let's see if I can do this. Let's see if I can do one hand. Whoa! Okay, put it back, put it back. And have I been reading Project Hail Mary? No, I've been working on book stacks all day. It's 12:30. Okay, but I'm done. Like, I took a picture of this. I'm submitting it for points for Tales from Two Trails. So we're done. We've officially made my stack the Black Comedy stack. So we've got the Jim Butcher series. It included more of these books, but I just was going to use one as an example. And I haven't read this yet, so I don't know how comedic it is. But this one is considered a Black comedy, according to Goodreads. So whether or not you might agree with this, I don't know. This one, I could totally understand that. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I just don't know how much humor is actually in it. But it says profane, which tends to make me think that there might be some humor in it. I'm just looking at some of the blurbs on the back. So that's that by Ken Kesey. Game of Thrones, was there, I mean, aside from like Tyrion, I haven't read the series at all. Were there a lot of humorous moments that were making fun of death and stuff within the books? I don't know. I just know that Tyrion has a pretty interesting sense of humor. I love Tyrion. But I don't know if I would consider this one a Black humor series. So that's one I was questioning. Of course, Finley Donovan is killing it. This obviously surrounds a very dark and taboo topic of her being a hitman, and yet it is very comedic. Then we've got the Thursday Murder Club, which I'm guessing that there is a lot of humor in this. This is it murder mystery, or is it just, yeah, it's murder mystery. Thursday Murder Club, Amy, duh. So I'm guessing there's a lot of humor within this one. And then that's kind of the same with Dial A for Aunties. I know this one is very humorous, and it is about a dead body that she discovers. The guy she's dating dies. Does she kill? Oh, she accidentally kills him, doesn't she? Something like that. But then, of course, this one, A Man Called Uwe, is the dark subject matter and taboo subject matter of unaliving yourself. And so that definitely counts as Black comedy. This one is all about death and graveyards, and there's a lot of humor in most of Neil Gaiman's books. So I'm wondering if other Neil Gaiman books that I own should be on. I mean, Good Omens is definitely on the list of Black comedy, but I don't own that one. So I agree with this one. I'm just not sure. I have a few other Neil Gaiman books. Should they have been in the stack? I don't know. Then we've got Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga. I'm not going to try. It's Polish though, and I still haven't read it. Is there comedy in this one? That's what I was wondering. Is there comedy in this one? I know that it's a slow thriller, horror thriller. It says funny, vivid, dangerous, and disturbing. So I'm guessing that there is some element of comedy. It says a thriller, comedy, and political treatise. Okay, so I'm guessing that there is comedy in this. It just depends on humor. You know, like, obviously humor can be subjective. So, you know. Then this one is definitely a Black comedy. Catch-22 is very much a Black comedy. And my books are falling over. Hold on one second. Sorry if this moves the, like that. I didn't want it to move the thing. Let's try to move you back. Probably not going to be perfect. Okay, this is the one that I added because it wasn't on the list, but I pretty much think of, I mean, here in the back it says, Kurt Vonnegut is a master of contemporary American literature. His Black humor, satiric voice, and incomparable imagination first captured America's attention. So, like, I tend to think of all of his books as being Black humor. They're probably not all. Listen to the synopsis of Bluebeard. Bluebeard ranks with Vonnegut's most imaginative works. Broad humor and bitter irony collide in this fictional autobiography of Rabo Karabekian, who at 71 wants to be left alone in his Long Island estate with the secret he has locked inside his potato barn. But then a voluptuous young widow badgers him into telling his life story. Okay, I'm going to imagine that secret is something taboo. And of course, all of Vonnegut's is very satirical and humorous. So I'm going to guess that this is probably Black comedy. Confederacy of Dunces. I know this is humorous. How much taboo subject matter is in this? I'm not sure because I haven't ever read it yet. So, like, is this just comedy and satirical, or is there actual Black comedy in it because of the subject matter? Not sure. Middlesex, again, is this comedic? I don't know. It says cheeky, splendid novel. So cheeky tends to make me think, I'm looking at some of the blurbs. Deliriously American. So deliriously, cheeky, these are words that I would think lend themselves to humorous. And then, of course, there's dark subject matter. I don't know. Oh, she has to uncover a guilty family secret. Oh, I think that has to do with, anyways, I haven't read Middlesex yet. So is this black comedy? Let me know. I'd love to hear in your comment section down below. If you've read these books, do you feel like these would be considered black comedy? Finally, we've got I Hate Fairyland, which is a graphic novel that I got from my friend Magda. And this already, you can tell, is black comedy. So, I mean, not hard to see that this one is definitely black comedy. So that's my stack. And then that means everything is done for Tales from Two Trails except the 2 books that I have to finish, Under the Whispering Door and Now We Are Six, which I haven't even started yet. But it's poetry. It shouldn't take me that long, right? It doesn't look like it'll take me long. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Anyways, that's my update for Tales from Two Trails. The aspect of this that is self-care is that I am working towards supplying points to my team, which feels really good. And I'm getting a chance to go through some of my books. It's been really fun. Like when I was doing the coming of age ones, there were too many of them. I knew that I was just going to keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, and it would make a stack that wasn't manageable. However, it was fun to kind of look through my books and see like, what are coming of age? What are black comedy? It is pretty fun to just pull them based off random genres and see what I have. And that makes me want to like do some kind of video concept with it at some point in the future. I don't know what, but that was kind of cool. So if you have any ideas of how I can incorporate that into a video or what you might be interested in, or if you're not interested in that at all, that's fine too. Let me know in the comment section down below. The part that doesn't feel like self-care is having to put all these books back.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this one's going to hit a little hard. So, I haven't actually talked about what this is about in this video yet. I don't want to give too much away because it's one of those books where it's fun to discover things as you go. But we've got our main character, Ryland Grace, and at first when we meet him, he has no memory of anything, of who he is, of what he does. There's just clues to things that he remembers, or clues to who he is based on what he's able to remember while he's waking up from this induced coma and trying to figure out where he is, like what's going on, how he can figure out who he is, where he is, all that stuff. And he eventually figures out that he is hurtling in space towards a destination that he doesn't really know at this point. And why he's there, he's slowly starting to get back memories as to what his purpose is, like why he was put on this crew. And it's devastating because as he wakes up, he finds that his other crewmates are dead and he's alone on this mission, and at first he doesn't know what it is. Well, it turns out that there is something that is causing the sun to slowly at first, but it will exponentially get faster, lose its heat source, its energy, and that will eventually throw the Earth into like extreme ice ages, like within 30 years or something like that. So like it's going to be horribly extreme, and he is being put in this mission to, I guess, solve the problem. We still haven't quite got to what their aim is for Project Hail Mary. The part that made me get choked up was because he actually is a school teacher. He's a middle grade school teacher because of some stuff that had happened in his research past when he was a scientist, when he was a microbiologist, because of how difficult it is, how competitive it is, and how he kind of ruined his reputation. He changed his careers and became a middle school teacher. And as he's looking at the possibility of the world collapsing, from a societal standpoint within 30 years, he's looking at his students. I don't think this is spoilery or anything, but like he's looking at his students and he's just in a panic mode because he cares so much about them. And that was like, it just made me think about why we become teachers. Like there's so many reasons why being a teacher is unsatisfactory. We don't get a lot of support financially, politically, within the social stratosphere a lot of times, but we do it for this reason of caring about children and caring about their future and caring about the future of the country, the world. And so there's really, really important reasons we do it, and we form these attachment to the students that we have. And in a lot of ways, I think that we as teachers see their potential. We see who they're going to become in the future, and we are so excited for that. We're so excited to be part of that process. And then for him to see that within these kids' lifetime, the world is going to change to like
apocalyptic situations, it just was very triggering for him. And then, of course, that to me made me get choked up, because I was like, I totally get where he's freaking out right now, because he just sees the impact of what's going on. And yeah, I was like, so I imagine this is going to make me cry here and there at times. And I can totally relate to our main character, how he feels about science. I mean, I obviously am not nearly as knowledgeable about science, even though I did get my degree in science. It was a, bachelor's degree, and I didn't go into microbiology. My level of knowledge when it comes to science is not nearly as advanced as this guy is. And yet I totally understand his experience and his love for science, but then also transferring that information into the experience of becoming a teacher, and how much he cares about his students and how much he loves what he does. Like, you can tell he loves being a teacher and that he's really good at it, and how that is actually affecting the choices that he makes within this whole Project Hail Mary concept. So, yeah, I'm not that far along, but I'm already just really getting a lot out of this. So I'm on page 70 right now, and just trying to, plod along. I do need to do laundry, and I still haven't started that. Mom keeps reminding me, did you start your load? Did you start your load? I haven't yet, so I gotta do that. So maybe I'll take a little short break and go at least start a load of laundry. Folding the laundry, though, nah. Yeah, nah. Okay, so I'm currently on page 153, and this is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Like, things pick up really quickly through this. Obviously we had that whole section where we're trying to figure things out, but once we actually get where we're meant to go, it gets exciting very quickly. And there are things happening that are just wild. It's wild, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying this perspective, too, because our main character, Ryland, is just fascinated by everything, and that reminds me a little of me, where we just get super excited about learning new things and experiencing new things, exploring new things, and considering the situation this person is in. His positivity just makes it's charming. I feel like it's charming to read from this perspective. I feel like it's interesting, and it makes me excited to find out what's happening next, Okay, so my cozies/self-care weekend is officially at an end, but I'm not yet finished with Project Hail Mary. I did stay up late last night reading this. I stayed up till like 11, which is rough because I have to get up by 5. So, I set my alarm for 5. I do definitely, hit that snooze a few times, but I need to be up pretty early on exercise days, let alone work days in general. So I should not have stayed up late, but I was having a really hard time putting this down. It's really exciting. There's just really interesting things happening in this. We're getting, I don't even want to say, we're getting things. Oh, did I spoil it all in the first video? Maybe I should check that out and see, because maybe I can then add spoilery sections to this. But for now, before I get into anything spoilery, I want to say that there's just some really fun, thought-provoking things that are happening, and you just want to find out what's coming next. And the excitement that our main character has at just exploring and learning and finding out new things. He understands that things are frightening, but he's able to put a lot of that aside because of just what he's coming up against in his journey, his adventure. It's so thrilling. And I love reading from a perspective that is that joyful to learn more, to explore. It's a lot of fun for me. So I'm getting a kick out of this character. He's not a very deep character in some ways. Like, I felt like when we first started reading about him, we would get more of his personality, but we're really kind of living this whole experience through him, but not delving too deeply into some of his, I don't know how to explain it, because I feel like with The Martian, we dealt a lot more with our main character, the sense of isolation and all that stuff. He went through a lot more emotional turmoil, and I'm guessing our character will here at some point, but we're not quite getting that yet. So we have had moments where he's reflecting on things and he's getting a little emotional, but he keeps putting it aside because he wants to focus on what's here and what's now, what he has to do next. I like that. I'm enjoying it. I just think we're not getting as much of
maybe his emotional reality, but he could just be in denial. I have heard some people say that this character feels a little flat, and I can see why why it would feel that way, because we're really more focusing not necessarily on his emotions and feelings, even though we're in his head. Are we in his head? We're kind of in his head. Yeah, we are. I circle, I do this. But he's so focused on all his exploration and all the things he's learning that we're not getting as much of a deep dive into his personality. And we get a little bit of that from his flashbacks, the times that we're thinking back when he's remembering certain things. And maybe part of the problem is that he has lost so much of his memory during this process that we are not getting his full emotions and feelings because he's trying to stay away. Like, I feel like there's a certain level of trauma here that he's trying to compartmentalize. And so maybe that's why we're not getting quite as much. So I'm currently on page 184. And so not quite halfway. So I am going to prioritize this. However, I do need to work on the other books that I have. I definitely need to get these books that I'm working on currently done. So we'll see how far I can get. Let me go check and see if I can do spoilers. Okay, so I did do spoilers in the Diviners when I was reading that one. So I'm going to do some spoilers here. I will make sure to timestamp down below when the spoilers end, so you can always jump forward to the next section that doesn't have spoilers. And I'm going to list this right here, spoilers, so you know the whole time I'm actually talking about spoilers. I am just loving his giddiness about the alien that he's meeting. You know, this spider-like alien. It's interesting that this was the alien form that Andy Weir chose, and he's able to create, or able to make this sentient, you know, highly intelligent creature be something that a lot of people fear and looks like something a lot of people fear. And yet it's so charming and it's so fun to see their interactions, and it's made to be somewhat human in the way that it is responding to Ryland. It is a little like, what's going to end up happening considering their atmospheres are not compatible? How are they going to get past that? I'm very curious to see going forward how the communication is going to work. And so they just got through the part where they were talking about the clocks and understanding each other's time system. And it was very interesting that, like, the alien system uses base 6 based on their fingers, and we of course use base 10 based on having 10 fingers. Because I had to learn how to teach the different bases, like base 6 and different base units when it comes to counting and in math. And it's tricky. Like, it's one of the trickier topics to teach kids. It's tricky to learn as well. And so I thought that was fascinating that that was a part of this. And then it makes me just curious if this other alien creature is going to be able to help him somehow be able to get back so that it isn't a suicide mission. Although when he gets back, it'll be like, what, 26 years later? So would it be worth the time? You know, like, I guess, you know, as opposed, he's still young. Maybe the alien creature can help him harness the astrophage so that somehow he can get back to Earth. That would be really cool. It's just fun to see the same level of excitement from the alien as our main character has. And so I'm very curious what its goal is. Is it protecting astrophage, or maybe, you know, well, it's from a different galaxy, so maybe it's come to see where the source is. We don't know yet. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to be able to communicate that information that they're both maybe trying to protect or save their galaxies, their solar systems. Every chapter is like, now we're going to find out what it does this, now we're going to find out this. Like, when you have this first encounter situation, it makes it really hard to put the book down because you just want to see what's going to happen next, because you have no idea, because we don't know what it's like to have this experience where we're encountering an alien. So I just feel like it's done really well. Like the excitement, the build-up, it's carrying through the chapters really well so that I don't want to put the book down. And, you know, isn't that the point? You want people to read your books and not be able to put them down. That's it. I don't have too many spoilers at the moment. I probably could think of other things that I have thoughts on, but I can't right now. I'm tired. So if I think of things later, I'll say them. One thing I just realized is that this Project Hail Mary is one of my Advent Calendar Challenge books from 2 years ago. So that means it was a $20 book. And I'm really excited that I'm actually getting to these, because I'm really bad about doing that, you know, buying books and then actually getting to them. So this is one of the Advent Calendar Challenge books. Okay. So I'm going to give this update in the semi-dark, as it's getting darker out here in the woods, because I am going to get flack for this. Okay, here's the thing. I'm really, really enjoying Project Hail Mary a lot.
high 4-star. But at the moment, it's not feeling like a 5-star. I don't know what the deal is. I'm really, really enjoying it, but I think because I have it to this really, really high standard, I am getting nervous that it's not going to be the 5-star that I believed it to be. And it makes me feel bad because I know everybody loves this book so much, and I love it too. I love it too. Don't get me wrong. I love it too. But I don't know if I love it 5 stars. 5-star gives you a feeling. You get a feeling that this is absolutely 5-star. Like, it's usually not a question. Occasionally, books will earn 5-star, and this is one of those books I think could earn 5-star because of the amount of creativity that was used to create this. Like, Andy Weir's mind is incredible. I just can't even imagine a lot of the things that he's put into this, given that he has a very strong understanding of, or at least has done a lot of research on, actual science. So he makes it sound very scientific in a way that makes you feel like there's a plausibility there, because he makes it sound really good as far as like his scientific understanding, or at least how he's able to use that and turn it into a fiction narrative. It's incredible. There's so much that is incredible about this book. I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm loving the character. Maybe that's what it is. I'm enjoying the characters, but they're not my favorite characters I've ever read before. I can't go into much about it. Oh, I can spoil a little bit. But before I get into spoilers, just want to say, I really am liking our main character a lot, but I'm not loving him as much as I thought I would. And I feel like there is a certain level of flatness to his character throughout this that I don't know, there's just not that extra. We're so focused on what's going on and what's happening and everything that's happening to him that I just feel like I'm missing a little bit of his personality. I want a little more from it. I don't know how to explain that. Going into spoilers. I love the alien character. What is his name? Rocky. That's right. I really think Rocky is such a cool character. I'm loving that we're getting to know his personality. I feel like we're almost getting to know his personality more than we're getting to know Ryland's personality. And maybe that's where that little teeny disconnect is. If I could connect with Ryland just a little more, considering he's a character that I should, in all intents and purposes, absolutely love, because he's a teacher and he's a biologist and he is all these incredible things and he's doing so many amazing things, and I love his excitement. I love everything that he has going for him, and yet I just need a little more from him, and I don't know what it is. The other thing, and mind you, 4.5, maybe even 4.75. Like, this book is still amazing, but I'm trying to get into understand why it doesn't feel quite 5-star for me at this point, and I'm not done with it. So that isn't saying anything, but I am not loving the time jumps, and I usually don't mind that at all, but for some reason it's throwing off the flow for me, or at least I want to be spending more time with Ryland, and then we get thrown back to a bit of the past. That's important. It's important to know what Ryland is remembering. It's important to know how these aspects contribute to the story, because they do, but for some reason how we're switching back and forth is throwing me off, and I'd rather learn that information some other way. Just trying to understand things, because I've had to put it down to finish another book, and I don't have this, I really need to pick it back up again. I'm just so excited to get back to it. I do want to get back to it, but it's not this absolute need, which I love having that feeling when you're into a book that's a 5-star book and you just can't put it down and you want to keep picking it up and reading it. And I'm just not quite feeling that to that extreme at this moment with Project Hail Mary.
Okay, so it's time for me to give you a review of Project Hail Mary. My final thoughts, final review by Andy Weir. This is quite a while in the future because I didn't film the final review that I thought I had. And so I have a pretty removed opinion of this, meaning like it's been a while since I've read this. I've read books since, and so I think that this will be a pretty accurate review. And ultimately, I am going to stay with the 4.5 stars because of the reasons that I mentioned before. I did get quite distracted, and I noticed this while I was reading the book multiple times, that when we did those time jumps back in the past, which normally don't bother me, but I think that maybe the placement of them or something about when we had them, I wasn't ready for them. It did distract me, and it distracted me, and it felt like it pulled me out of the story in those moments. Or I was like, no, I just want to go back to the situation that Ryland is currently in and somehow learn that information, which is vital to the story. I agree that it's vital to the story, but somehow learn it in a different way, because I wasn't enjoying those flashbacks the way that they were intended to be enjoyed. The other thing is that I feel like Ryland is a character that I really should absolutely love. I should be able to identify, I should connect this character 100%. And Shell had mentioned this, in a lot of ways, Ryland and I are very similar in some of the ways that we approach life, in some of the choices that we have made in life, and I can totally see that connection. But for some reason, maybe because it's the first person perspective that we get in this particular situation, because there's this amnesia concept of it that goes throughout the whole book, maybe because of the amnesia and the first person perspective, I just don't get the absolute grasp of his character that I want. I want to connect even more. I want there to be even more of an emotional charge to the things that are occurring for him. And there's some little teeny disconnect for me. Not for everybody. I know that this is not going to be true for everyone, but for me, there was some little disconnect there that I didn't get exactly what I wanted from his character 100%. And those are the reasons why it keeps it from being a 5-star. Now, let me tell you the reasons it's a 4.5 star. This is incredibly well thought out. I thought it was so creative. I thought Andy Weir, his idea of creating this particular scenario, his way of showing what possibilities are out there. Let's put it that way, because I don't want to give any spoilers right now. I just want to tell you what I'm thinking for people who are not looking for spoilers. I think that was so clever and so creative, and he did it in a way that felt like it could be realistic. And that's his understanding of science. I feel like that's his understanding as an author of the world he's putting us into, and he made it so this is absolutely fantastical, but he had enough research, he had enough knowledge that he was able to make it plausible. There are ideas in this that I couldn't even have imagined coming up with on my own, and I think that Andy Weir's pacing is great. I think that his humor is always very clever. I feel like there could have been a little more of that infused in here, but I still think that it was done really well. And it is fairly subtle. Like, even in The Martian, his humor was fairly subtle, and it adds a bit of relief to a situation that is really dire. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate what this author's putting out there, and I can guarantee you that I'm going to enjoy more of Andy Weir's writing, more of Andy Weir's books. And I highly recommend this book. I think that most people are going to love it. And I've heard the audiobook is incredible. So if you're looking to read Andy Weir, if you're looking to read a fantastic sci-fi, if you want to be wowed by a story that has really unique perspectives and very interesting concepts that are brought to the story, I highly recommend Project Hail Mary. Unfortunately, though, it's just not going to be my one true love. My one true bookish love. I don't know how much I have to say that is spoilery, but I will go into spoilers for a little second here. And so, of course, if you're not looking for that, make sure you skip ahead to the next portion that is spoiler-free. I think that Rocky is an incredible, incredible alien creation by Andy Weir, and I loved learning about this. Like, I was as giddy and excited as Ryland because it was something so new for me. Like, I can imagine how exciting this would have been for someone, anyone. You know, he's discovering something new that no one has ever discovered. I mean, everything in this, after he leaves our galaxy, is completely new and exciting, and I felt the same level of giddiness and excitement as he did. And I loved seeing his giddiness and excitement, because I think that that's, like, aside from the absolute fear of being in a situation where you're not going to survive, you're not going to survive. Obviously that changes, but like, in his mind, he knows that this is the end. He still is able to enjoy the process of learning and discovering and knowing that he's the first and only person who's going to be seeing this until he sends the information back to Earth. Like, I think that is beautiful, and I love that part of the story, and I find that incredibly fascinating, because I felt like since we were getting that first-person perspective, so like this is a time when the first-person perspective really worked, since we were using that first-person perspective, I could almost feel this experience with him, and I thought that that was really cool. So I did love that, and I just think, again, Andy Weir, like, this is incredible. What did I think about the ending or how this resolved itself? I do love that there were some really intense scenes. I really enjoyed those moments. We were just like, what is going to happen? But at the same time, I feel like there was a certain level of convenience to this. I almost liked the fact that he thought he was going to be able to survive. Everything was going to be amazing. And then because he had to go back and save Rocky, he knew that he was choosing his life to be over. And not that I wanted our main character to die, but I like when books have those kind of stakes, and he sort of sacrifices himself to the greater good, and that's sort of the end. Like, I don't know if I might have liked that better. I might have liked it better that Ryland made this choice because he was fighting so long throughout this story, especially when you go back to the flashbacks, and mostly when you go back to the flashbacks. He didn't want to be in this position. He didn't choose to save humanity. Like, he didn't choose to save humanity on Earth. And so if in the end he had chosen to save Rocky and the people of Rocky's planet instead of surviving, I think that was like the ultimate character arc, and I feel like that would have been more powerful than I kind of feel like that would have been a more powerful ending. Overcoming that fear, understanding the importance of this, that it's greater than him, and that being it. I did like the ending. I did enjoy seeing him on Rocky's planet and the world that they created for him, being able to see that they were successful in saving Earth and finding out all that information. But I would have been just as happy with his ending. I mean, I say that now, but of course, I could have read it and been like, he does die? There's no way that he got saved? You don't know, because like I know exactly what I get at the end of this. So would I really been happy if he was just doomed at the end and he would have died? But he would have died knowing that he made this choice to save others and he had overcome his fear. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it wouldn't have been a happy ending, but it would have been a satisfying ending. And maybe, I don't know. Am I completely wrong? Were we all super, super happy with the way this ended, that it just sort of worked out in the end? I'm very curious to hear some of your thoughts, maybe on some of my opinions. And it's okay if your opinions are completely different. Just be nice. But I think that there were little things in this that kept it from being that perfect 5 stars for me. And I do have some ideas of like, would I have liked it better if it was this? Maybe I wouldn't have. Maybe I really do like the ending exactly as it is. And if it had been different, I wouldn't have liked it. But I definitely have that speculation. Like, And so I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So at this point, The Diviners is currently the front runner for my greatest bookish love, because I gave this one 5 stars and I absolutely loved it. This one is a 4.5 stars, so it's knocking this one out just by a little bit. And so I am happy with my current frontrunner. But stick around, because the next episode of Book Love is Blind, I will be reading the 3rd and final book, Dragonwyck by Anya Seton. This is my final choice of my Book Love is Blind series. And I'm curious to see if Book Love is really blind, because this is probably the only book that I had never heard of before when I got all these options that Shell had given to me, and I figured out a lot of the books. I figured out what the other books were, but this is one where I was not able to guess it, and when I did find out what it was, I had never heard of it before. So is Book Love really blind? Will Dragonwyck knock out the Diviners? Come back and check out my final vlog. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe so you can see if it will. Will it knock out the Diviners, or will the Diviners end up being my bookish love? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.